Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all well. First up today, before we get started on the wine tasting, got a quick shout out to make to one of our customers who watches these every week, I think. His name's Hamish, and it was Hamish's birthday yesterday. So Hamish, if you're watching tonight, happy birthday, mate. I hope you had a great day. I know you're out today having some fun as well on the boat, so have a good one. From everybody at Le Jupe, happy birthday, and we'll see you in the bar soon. Right, on to business, guys. So it's Argentinian wines this week, and we talked through two wines on Wednesday, a white and a red. And the first up today is the Amaru. It's Torrontés, and that's 2019. So we'll be tasting the white one first as usual, guys, all right? So if you haven't got that one out of the fridge yet, go and get it out of the fridge. Best thing with white wines, I always often say this to you guys, is take them out of the fridge maybe 10, 15 minutes before you want to drink them. Just normally, most domestic fridges keep them really cold. I mean, some people love their white wines really cold. Really, a white wine shouldn't be drunk ice cold. You're closing down the structure of the wine too much and the flavors. So you do want it to be coming up in temperature when you're drinking it. So you're getting the full grape flavors, okay? So yeah, I take mine out about 15 minutes before I drink it normally. So the Amaru, the Torrontés, it's 100% Torrontés grape. Sorry, that's my glasses clinking. Let's move these out of the way. That's better. So this is a 30.5%, and she is vegan, this one. And as I say, this is from the Calchaquez Valley. I think it's the Cafayate region there, and that is up in Salta. So that's northwest Argentina. We're talking high up in the mountains, as I said the other day, on the border there. So we're talking border country, wild country up there. These are some of the highest vineyards in the world, actually. I think we're looking at around 1,800 meters for these guys, which is a respectable height. You know, there's no mountains in Scotland that high. Can't imagine growing anything at the top of Glencoe, let alone 1,800 meters, right? This one is, as I think I said again the other day, located in the mountain desert region. So it's not even like it's forests or like nice green lush mountains. These are high mountain deserts. These guys grow all sorts of stuff up there. So we've got a Torrontés here by the guys at El Esteco is the vineyards. El Esteco is the name of the guys that make this wine. They grow all sorts of grapes. So yeah, we have a Torrontés. They grow Chardonnays as well. They grow sparkling whites, produce sparkling whites up there. They do pretty much all the big reds you can think of for Argentina. So we're talking Cab Sauv, we're talking Merlots, we're talking Malbecs, we're talking Bernardos, we're talking Syrahs, Tannats. They have got, you name it, they've got it up there. I think they've got around 1,000 acres of vineyards up there, these guys, which is a decent amount, which allows them to really play with the different terroirs and different microclimates and different soils types they're going to be getting across that whole range of acreage there, and produce all sorts. Now, as I said the other day, the Torrontés that we have from these guys is, the Salta region is considered the best region to grow this Torrontés Rioja grape, and for good reason. It has been noted as the best example of this style. So I'm looking forward to tasting this one already. And let's have a little chat about the family here. So how did this vineyard start up? So founded in 1882, the company El Esteco, or the vineyards, by a couple of French immigrants actually to the region. It was David and Salvador Michel, and David's Italian wife Gabrielle. They founded the vineyards back in 1892, I think it was. Now, I don't know what took them to that region and why they would think to grow wine up there, because they were considered pioneers at the time, and still to this day are considered the pioneers of that region, really being amongst the first people to go and try and grow vines up there. So why you would emigrate from France and come and try and grow grapes up in the mountains in Argentina, an untried, untested territory, who knows, but thank God they did. They started up their company, and the family continued to run this vineyard. I think originally they started off I've got a feeling they started off with this grape. I think the Toronto's grape was one of the first ones they tried growing up there, and it flourished and worked, and went on to kind of be a flagship grape of theirs. And in fact, I think they exported this. They moved into exports. They went into export. I'm just trying to remember, guys. I've read about all this before. They went into export, and the Toronto's grape was one of the first examples of an Argentinian wine being exported anywhere around the world, which is a pretty cool accolade. So this has got great heritage, this grape in this region. Today, the vineyards aren't owned by that family any longer. They sold out eventually. I think, as always happens in anything successful. The Peñaflor group own these guys now. These guys also, interestingly, own the vineyards for the red. We're going to taste later on a different company, but the kind of the umbrella above them all is the same. These Peñaflor company. Now these guys put this wine, the El Esteco Bodega, which is what this wine's label is really, they put this under their premium lines, so that they consider this one of their kind of prime lists, if you like, which is again a great accolade, and all the more exciting because these guys, Peñaflor, are in the world's top 10 largest wine producers. They are enormous. They are an Argentinian company, and they, I think, have been in the top 10 wine producing companies for a long time. I think they have amongst their kind of their stable, if you like, probably some of the best wineries in Argentina, with some of the best vineyards, some of the best examples of different styles and grapes coming from underneath their roof. So they bring to bear a lot of expertise that perhaps, when you first realise that it's a big company like that I've been doing these wines, you might be like, oh, that put me off a little bit. I'd like just a little old fella, in the mountains on his own, getting his hands dirty and having done it for hundreds of years with his family, and that's what you want. The vineyards are still run as a separate bodega, El Azteca, so that you still got that continuity of the history, and they respect that history, I think, very much so, of the vineyards and where they came from and what was important. But what they bring to bear, this company, is an enormous amount of scientific research, expert teams, and a global approach to making wine that maybe, would be lacking, I think, if it was a small outfit, which allows them to produce probably wines that are of a better and more consistent quality than if it was, again, just a little fella called Pedro or something making the wines up in the mountain. Maybe Pedro does make these, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Now, as I said, these guys grow a lot of different grapes, but the Toronto's Rioja grape that we discussed the other day, this one is not, well, it kind of is native to Argentina, but it was derived from a cross of two grapes that were brought across by the Spanish and the conquistador times. So we're talking 1500s. And if you remember the other day, we talked about the Mission grape, which was used for sacramental wines in the Spanish Empire. And there was the Muscat d'Alexandre grape. And through, I think, probably accidental crossing of these plantations of the two grapes, the Toronto's was born. Why and how David Michel and his wife and his brother picked that grape and took it up to the mountains, I don't know, and I couldn't find anything out about that, unfortunately. However, what we've got with this one is an interesting grape that has the characteristics of the kind of almost aromatic characteristics of the Muscat d'Alexandre in it, and it's noted for that and it's famous for that. So I'm intrigued as to how this is going to work, this one, having not really tried Toronto's very often before. And in addition to that, you've got an incredible viticulture surrounding this wine and the region it's grown in. So it's really going to be a style that I personally aren't familiar with. In terms of the viticulture for this grape, so how are they growing it and what are they doing in these vineyards? As I said, because El Esteco Bodega is run by Peñaflor, they have brought to bear a lot of kind of global awareness and modern techniques, but also modern practices to run the business. So what that means for viticulture for us is that they are certified as, this is an acronym, GAP is the acronym, Good Agricultural Practices and Standards. I think GAP stands for. Again, you research that and tell me if I'm wrong. But what that means is they pay special attention to conservation, to working with the land and in harmony with the land, and ensuring longevity of that land to produce crops and to support flora and fauna that are native to the region. They also have certification fair trade and also in social responsibility. So, you know, they really cover the whole gamut here of what any good company should be doing. They look after their staff, they look after the region they work in, and they look after the kind of the longevity and the inheritance of future generations for that land and for its ability to produce wine, which is a nice idea, I think. And I even like the way that they've called this wine Amaro, so AMARU. So there's this big old company, and yet they've called the name Amaru, and Amaru is a Quechan wine. Quechan, the Quechans were one of the old kind of original cultures in South America. Before they were part of what made up the Incan Empire, if you like. And Amaru means it was their name for the god of water, basically. And the god of water was they saw it as a flying serpent with two heads, one of a puma or something like that. And it lived at the bottom of rivers and at lakes and stuff like that. And it was believed to be sacred for the production of water. So I love that they've called this wine Amaru for two reasons. One, I love the fact that obviously that region was populated by Quechans originally, and Quechan tribes. So they would have praised that deity, you know, in the hope that it produced water for them, because obviously this is a dry region, we're talking a mountain desert. But I just like that they've kind of linked back to that and shown some respect for the culture and for the history. And if you've been to South America and you've had a look around, you know that you know, in Peru, in Ecuador, in Bolivia, in Chile, in Argentina, and parts of Argentina, you still see a lot of the Quechan culture, and the locals, the people there that aren't descended from the white Spanish and immigration from Europe, they're still very Quechan probably in their culture and their roots and their look, almost like the Incans are still there, you know. So it's actually really cool. They've given a nod to that. I like that. So as I say, these guys have brought a lot of research and scientific kind of approach to vinification and viticulture. One thing that's really important with regard to the water, obviously up there in the mountains, is managing their soils properly. So these guys bring some serious scientific research to the game. They research the soil, the topography, they research soil mapping, runoff, drainage, hydration models. They look at everything before they even think about planting a vine somewhere. They would have done so much research and modelling with respect to existing flora and fauna as well. And they will run models on, you know, what would happen if you planted this particular vine here. We know this vine needs this kind of amount of water, this kind of amount of sunshine. It doesn't like these conditions, it does like this. Can this soil support that kind of a vine based on the water that's available in the region, using drip irrigation from the Andes, which is fairly traditional and non-invasive and quite eco-friendly. So they really have done their research, these guys. And what that means is they've made this wine very ethically, socially responsibly. You can drink this wine being pretty happy that nothing's been hurt, no one's been harmed, and everything's nice where this wine was made, all right? In terms of the vinification, so how the wine was made itself, manually harvested, February, March time. So remember that's their autumn in the Southern Hemisphere. They process and collect the fruit very carefully, as we often find in decent wines. I mean, we're not talking mass-produced wines here, so in a sense, they treat these wines like fine wines. They take the grapes off the wine very carefully because they want to preserve the characteristics of the grape without damaging them at all before they get to press. Fermentation takes place in stainless steel vats here, about 13 degrees, so very cool. You recall we've talked about this before, especially with white grapes, to preserve the natural characteristics of the grape. If they ferment at a higher temperature, it can bring out not unnatural flavors, it could bring out flavors that maybe you wouldn't necessarily get from the grape. So we've talked about, I think, in relation to Australia and places like that, where they maybe ferment their wines at a warmer temperature and bring out tropical flavors. So these guys do this at 13 degrees, it's pretty low. So it maintains your varietal characteristics. There's nothing funky and crazy going on with this wine in terms of the way the vinification of this one. It's pretty straightforward. They respect the grape, and I think what they do really actually is let the terroir speak rather than make a style based on techniques in the winery itself, you know. So in terms of the terroir, we talked a little bit the other day about this, but as I said, it's mountain desert, so we're talking sandy, alluvial soils with great drainage, a really high thermal range. Obviously, due to the altitude there, you're going to be getting very hot days, a lot of sunshine, and then you're going to be getting very cold evenings, very cold evenings. So a massive diurnal range. And in terms of the sunshine at this height, this is an important part of the terroir, I think, that people don't maybe think about. When you're at altitude, the sun is at 1,800 meters is a decent altitude. The sun is more intense. The power of the sun is more intense, and how that affects the grape's maturation on the vine, then flip to nighttime temperature that's really cool, like really massive range, is probably very influential in how the grapes get their flavor and their texture and their profile. You know, if you grew this grape at a lower altitude or in a less sunny mountainous area, then I think we'd be talking a different grape, you know. So let's give it a go. After all of this chat, I'm personally quite excited. Hope you are. Hope there's some of your wine left. Hope you've not necked it already. Right, let's give this one a little pour. It's a beautiful colour in the bottle, guys. I'm loving the colour in the bottom. Okay, let's see if you can see the colour there. So it's quite pale, actually. Lovely and light looking. Yeah, really a really pale lemony colour going on here, which I'm surprised about. You know, it's got a nice kind of almost a golden yellow in the bottle, but actually when you pour it, it's a light colour, and that belies the body. You know, I mean, I'm expecting a heavy bodied wine or quite a full bodied white wine. It's 13.5%. That's quite a substantial white wine. Let's have a little smell of it. I can smell it from here actually already. Amazing. I mean, that's yeah, that's something. That's a cross between a few different wines, you know, that I can think of. It's aromatic. You know, that's the first thing I said. It's floral, it's aromatic, it's got notes of elderflower very much in there. You've got, it's a bit like a Viognier, you know, it's aromatic kind of qualities, but the floral notes of the flower from the elderflower are in there, and then you've got some pear, yeah, almost like pear drop background going on, grapefruit definitely as well. Yeah, that's one of those mouth-watering white wines, you know. I'm going to have a taste, guys. Wow. I might as well turn the camera off. I'm just going to drink this bottle now. I'm done. This is amazing. This is a good wine. Oh, I see what the fuss is about now. Yeah, okay, so this is amazing. Lovely elderflower still going. The elderflower is still running through my mouth. Lovely fresh grapefruit. Definitely some nice pear and red apple maybe. A bit of citrus, but that citrus really for me is more grapefruit than lemon. You know, you might disagree with me, but I think I'm getting more grapefruit than lemon on this one. It's really well balanced. It doesn't taste 13.5%, which is dangerous. You know, last week we had a lighter white. I think this one it doesn't taste particularly heavy in comparison. It's lovely. It's got body, but it's not not oaky, of course it's had no oak at all, right? So this is just a really clean, it's got quite a crisp taste to it, and the finish is, yeah, really lingering, that floral flavour in my mouth. It's an amazing smell. In terms of aging this one then, guys, I think it's probably supposed to be drunk young, would be my guess on this one. It's beautiful. I can't think what it would gain from leaving this to sit in your rack. It's stunning. It's truly a lovely wine. I hope you will agree with me. And in terms of food on this one, well, I think Asian food, spicy Asian food would work lovely because of the aromatic quality to it. You know, aromatic wines like Gewürztraminer or Muscat d'Alexandria, for example, or Viogniers work well with spicy food. This has got that note to it. It would work. It's got enough flavour to carry through. And if you're eating something spicy, like, you know, Thai green prawns or something, this would you'd still get this beautiful floral flavour. It wouldn't be overwhelmed. I think it would work well with seafood as well. Ceviche would be lovely with this, actually. For me, that's something I'd probably go for. Or sushi would be lovely as well. There you go, there's my recommendations on the food. Now, guys, moving on quickly to the red. I don't want to keep you too long because you really should be drinking that white wine. Now, the red we're going for today is an Estation 1883 Bernarda 2017 by Trapiche. Now, if you remember, yeah, this is a Bernarda grape, this one 100%. It's from the Mendoza region, famous for Malbec, really. It's vegan again, and this one's a 14%er. So it's getting up there. This is not a light wine. I'm not expecting this to be a light wine. So the vineyards on this one, we're talking the Los Arboles vineyards in Mendoza. Now they are in the Uco Valley, UCO Valley, Uco Valley. So that's on the western central part of Argentina, kind of bordering towards the Andes, towards the backbone of the Andes there, kind of in the foothills. I think the Los Arboles vineyards are around 1250 meters above sea level, so again, a pretty decent height. So again, I'm expecting some nice high altitude kind of characteristics here. Now, the Trapiche winery, where did this one come from? It's the Trapiche winery. So it was founded in 1883, this one. It's the only Argentinian winery, I think, recognised by Drinks International, which is like a British drinks publication. It's pretty big. It's a pretty big publication. This only Argentinian winery that's been recognised 5 times as the world's top 50 most admired wine brands, I think, Trapiche. Yeah, they've been recognised heaps of times, like, I think from 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, like 5 times or something, they get it, and they've been awarded all sorts of awards on top of that. But since we're talking about the start of it, really, they were started up by a chap called, what was his name, it's a really mental name, like Tiberius Tiburcio Benegas, I think his name was. It's quite a mad name. He started this place up in 1883, as I said. It might have been an accident, actually. I don't know, I'm speculating. But he bought some property up there, and it happened to have a small vineyard in it. And hey presto, he was like, oh, maybe I'm going to become a winemaker, and tried his hand, and it seemed like it was working out. So he managed to expand the vineyards from a very small little part of property up there, 6,500 acres in his time at the helm. About 1908, his son Pedro, there's Pedro, he took over, continued to grow these grapes and expand the list of grapes and styles they produced up there. I think in about 1971, the family sold the vineyard on to a famous Argentinian family, Pulenta, I think they're called. In 71, they sold on to these guys. You know, they're a rich, big family out there. Bought the winery up, seeing all the potential it had. And eventually, through all sorts of wheeling and dealing, it ended up being owned by the same guys that own El Esteca. So it's the Peñaflora. Yeah, those guys bought it. So moving on to the viticulture, With this one, we can skip a lot of what we would normally talk about because we know it's basically run by the same guys that run the Azteca, which means all the same things for us in this case. So we're getting the fully certified JP, which was, you tell me what it was, I'm not telling you, I already told you. Good agricultural practice standards, that's right, well done guys. It's run to those standards, it's socially responsible, it's very well managed, good soil management, etc., etc. So we know the vineyards are going to be run very, very, very well. In addition to that, I think they've really respected the Mendoza heritage and especially Trapiche's heritage as being a very well regarded brand, and they've really kept things at an extremely high level down there. In terms of vinification on this one, very careful again. Again, nothing crazy, just very careful vinification, hand harvested by the bunch. So they only pick out the best fruits. All the fruits destemmed, as with most red wines, they destem it to make sure there's no woody bits in there that are going to really affect the flavour too much. They do an initial pressing, which is followed by the fermentation and maceration. Maceration, really is just breaking the skins gently to let the juices out so they can start fermenting. You could consider it like the first press, if you like, the maceration. They leave that to macerate and ferment for 25 days in little small concrete tanks, about 25 degrees, I think it is, yeah, about 25 degrees. They then, after fermentation, they do a secondary pressing. No, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's not just one pressing in wine. They press the grapes multiple times to get different elements of the grape out. So the first pressing, what's that going to give you? That's going to give you the tart kind of acids, tartaric acids and sugars. Second pressing is going to give you your malic acids and a bit more sugar, and the malic acid is something we've talked about before. And then the third pressing, they get the aromas, they get more sugar, they get astringency and stuff out of the grape. So in this case, the second pressing is pneumatic, are very gentle again. They get the malic acids out, and then they do some natural malolactic fermentation. As you talked about, malolactic fermentation is just where there's a natural occurrence, in this case, of lactic acid in the small concrete vats, and that softens the malic acids, turns them into lactic acids, and gives you softer notes to the wine rather than the tart kind of unripe apple flavour you get from malic acids, which in a white wine is great. In a red wine, you don't want that. So there's our process there. They don't really do anything else after that other than they will, I think they barrel this wine for 15 months in a mix of French and American oak, just to round it out a bit. And then it's filtered and bottled, and voila, we have our wine. Now the terroir on this one, it's not a million miles away actually, figuratively speaking, to the Azteca. So it's at 1250 meters, so we've got a big diurnal temperature variation again. We've got really low rainfall again. I think they're talking less than 10 inches a year here. So again, it's dry, it's mountainous, it's going to have quite intense sunshine during the day. It's going to have very cool temperatures at night. The soil there is a loam, I think, alluvial loam. So alluvial loams are going to be a bit sandy. They've got big stones through the soil as well, so it really gives intensely good drainage up there, which actually, surprisingly, is amazing for Cab Sauvignon. I think these guys produce some absolutely cracking Cab Savs, which, if we like this one, maybe we can get one of them in and try that as well. So yeah, your soil is very well draining up there, which is going to make those vines work exceedingly hard, right? Which is what we love. Now I think we're going to have to get stuck into this, guys. I've got another clean glass. It's not bad, that one, actually. All right. That's a lovely colour straight away. I'm getting a nice deep purple on that one. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's not wow, it's not yeah, sorry, I just got the nose there. It's lovely. It's a nice deep colour. Not inky, but a nice deep purple, that one. Lovely, attractive colour. Yeah, the nose is already hitting me. Wow, that's intense. It's really vibrant fruits in that. Really vibrant red berries, actually, and blackberry as well. Definitely vibrant blackberry. Whoa, it's really explodes, you know, it really gets it. That's a mouth-wateringly intense kind of really ripe black fruits. That's amazing. It's got my mouth watering as well. Let's go in for a taste. Wow. Forget about it. That is amazing as well. I'm going to call it. These are two really good wines, guys. If you don't like them, I'm sorry, but I'm calling this. We've got amazingly intense, ripe black fruits for me. Gorgeous blackberries in there, like really lovely. There's a suggestion of sweetness with the blackberries, but it's not a sweet wine at all. It's got quite a firm tannic structure actually, but there's a suggestion of spicy black currants, really nicely kind of boiled off and like all syrupy and lovely, but it's not sweet. It's just beautiful, intense black currant flavour. A hint of red berries too, definitely a hint of red berries, but ripe red berries, maybe a really ripe strawberry or something going on in that one. Little bit of warmth as well from the oak. You're definitely getting a little bit of a spice in the background on that one, which gives it a lovely structure. It's really well balanced though. It's not overly tannic and it's not overly dry and it's not overly sweet. It's just lovely balance and it's smooth, but it's got structure to it. You know, it's got some grip to it, if you like, in the mouth. The finish on it's gorgeous. It's still going with those dark fruits, but I'm getting a hint of licorice actually on this finish now. That's nice. Kind of a smoky licorice flavour in the background. That's something, guys. I rate that. To be honest, that's the first time I've tried this one, and yeah, wow, Bernarda. There we go. That's the Bernarda grape. Do let me know what you think, guys. I love hearing your feedback on these wines, and if you do think these are wines you would like us to get in the bar, as I said on Wednesday, we're almost open. We'll be opening very soon. Again, thankfully, to welcome you all back in and see your friendly faces and have nice chats with you all at a safe distance. I might be wearing a mask. Do let me know what you think of these though, guys. And if you do think we should get one of these or both of them in, let me know. And I look forward to your feedback on this one. Now, just before I go, I know some of you love food matching. I know I mentioned it on the white wine, but this one, really, guys, just to wrap it up, I think you go with grilled red meat. Grilled red meats, pork would work well with it as well. For me, being a stupid veggie, I would eat this with a really robust pasta sauce, red sauce, with probably some red wine through it, splash of this, some olives, some fresh garlic, yeah, and really robust tomatoes with some tomato puree as well through the tomatoes to make them really deep. And I would have that probably over something like goat's cheese ravioli, fresh goat's cheese ravioli. It'd be stunning. There you go, guys. Cheers. I hope you enjoy the wines, and I'll speak to you soon.